Good morning, friends. Welcome back to my studio. I'm Katie. I've got my traditional Saturday morning latte in my dragon mug, and I'm here to talk about my journaling inserts. So last we spoke about them, we were 1 week into January, and I posted a video that seemed to resonate based on how many views it got, which was that I hated my 2025 journal already. And in that video, I talked about this Midori insert that I'd been using and talking about what was driving me crazy. I'd come from a Sterling Ink Common Planner half-year B6, and this is my first time doing inserts, and so that's allowed me to do a lot of experimentation and to switch things around, which has been really enjoyable and like a thing I have really appreciated this year. But now I finished my second insert. We are 10 weeks into the year. We're almost at the end of Q1, and I thought it would be interesting to kind of compare and contrast these inserts and talk about what I've learned so far. So in this Midori cream insert that I was using an unlined version, no grid, just totally blank. I had like a backing page that I used as my grid. Here's just some sketches so I don't have to find a page. We'll go through a couple pages, but I'm not generally writing in this journal as if I am going to share it on the internet, so I gotta choose my pages wisely. But what was driving me crazy was the cream paper, which like didn't look good with my stickers. I don't know how much this will show on camera, and I'm sorry if you could hear the brainstorm happening outside, but like I didn't like this white paper sticker on the cream paper, and I really didn't like that it was blank. What I ended up doing in the month that I used this, what ended up being the outflow of the things that I didn't like about the Midori paper is that I sketched in it a lot more. So here's just, and I put watercolor, just swashes on there. So this was like a day I did a lot of sewing, and so I'm talking about that. Here's a sketch I did of a kangaroo, because I really liked how drawing, here's some leopard notes on drawing leopards. That was really fun because I really like how pencil sketches look on this paper. Here's a hyperfixation I had on sewing these culottes, which it's now been like 2 months and I have not finished, but I was really obsessed with them this week. Here are some sketches of little panda kind of emoji sort of things that I experimented with. I just like leaned into that and really enjoyed it. Here's another sketch. So one of the things that's kind of fascinating about paper products and graphic design, or lack thereof, is that it can really influence how people use them. Not that people must use them the way they're intended, but I really do find that like what I'm drawn to doing in one notebook isn't necessarily the same as what I'm drawn to doing in a different notebook with different paper, different choices. And that's something I really love about stationery and about graphic design. And so I try to like be in tune with that. I did write a list here at the end of what I liked and didn't like about this insert. I liked the B6 Slim. I liked the B6 Slim size. I liked that Midori MD paper is reliable and easily accessible, in contrast to how the TRP has been going this year. The gentleness of the cream paper on the eye, I didn't end up missing that when I moved out. I thought I might. The ease of mixed media, pencil sketches looked so good, watercolor splashes were fun, not and then something specific to inserts, but not this insert in particular, not worrying about the bulkiness of stickers, both because of the paper weight and the insert length, and I did enjoy the feedbacky paper. I didn't like how the cream paper interacts with the white stickers. We talked about that, the lack of grid. The paper occasionally makes my pen feel dry, and how the cream paper looks with cool toned inks. That was one of the things I really complained about in that first week, is like this blue doesn't look the way I want it to on the cream paper. So these are, I don't know, 40 something pages long, 46 I think, which, you know, I average 2 pages a day, but sometimes I do more, sometimes I do less. So it took me until January 28th to finish this insert, and I decided to do something different next. So I moved into this Wonderland 222 B6 96 page insert that I cut down this direction to make into B6 Slim. And I really like that because the Wonderland 222 has like a darker line here that's perfect for my margins. This timeline, however, is a bit in my way, and I do white it out with like a gel pen every day. That doesn't actually bother me. I won't miss it when I'm not doing it anymore, but it doesn't really bother me, and it works pretty well. Both of these have been recovered, by the way, with paper I've been hoarding from Planners Anonymous for years, and I do really love using inserts this way to use my paper stash. So yeah, so I have found that switching to 52 GSM white paper, despite the fact that is what I used for the previous 2 years before this, was a bit of an adjustment. But there's still a lot to like about it. I really preferred how my stickers looked. I haven't checked any of these pages. I really prefer how my stickers look. This ink is too pale, but I enjoy that the like cool blue doesn't clash. It's very easy to use my stickers. I'm mostly showing you the margins because the margins are usually safe. I found it very easy to use my stickers, very easy to use my fountain pens, just easy to use. I did, however, kind of miss the thicker paper, and I don't like 96 pages, it turns out. Despite the fact that I used like full-blown, half-year journals for 2 years, now that I am in the switch all the time mentality, I want to be switching all the time, and I found 96 pages to be too long. I started this at the end of January. It's currently March 15th, and I still have about like 10 more days to go. So this will last me about 2 months. And in the realm of notebooks, that's not very long, but I think this paper is beautiful, but like, I feel like I've done it. I'm ready for something new. I'm ready to have a new insert. I don't know. I'm ready to move on, and plenty of inserts are shorter than 96 pages. So I think maybe a sweet spot for me is somewhere in the 60 page realm, which is pretty common, and should be pretty doable. That gives me, it's about a month, and then I don't know, it's just a frequent refresh. And my goal is to, at the end of a certain amount of time, when these add up to enough to bind these into like a book. But I kind of am ready for the signatures to be a little shorter and a little more varied. So for most, something I did like in this, let me find you an example. I really enjoyed tipping stuff in, trying to channel a little junk journaling in. It's not something I'm used to, but it's kind of fun, and with the thin paper it's really easy to do, and with the fact that it's an insert, I don't worry about how bulky it gets. So that's a thing that kind of this insert incentivized. It took me a long time to start sketching in this insert, but we did get there. This actually was drawn somewhere else and glued in, as was this one. But we did eventually really get into it. So here's some cougars, or some attempts at cougars. Here's more of an attempted cougar. More cougar. You can tell I'm on a roll here. More cougar. This one I didn't even do the middle part of. Oh, this one's not the margins. Cougar. So it took me like 2/3 maybe of the way through the insert to feel like I wanted to do that. On the one hand, it's because my stickers look much nicer in this one than they do in on the cream paper, and so stickers are easier, and I have a lot of them, and it's incentivizing to use them. But I was sad that I was drawing less in here, and so I'm glad that I finally like kind of kicked that into gear. But I don't have a good reason for why I felt less drive to do it in there, other than the stickers, and maybe also the like texture of the paper. That could be it. But we got there, and I'm glad we did, and it holds up to media quite well. In terms of, so I would say the 52 GSM was a success. I mean, I wasn't too worried about it. I've been using it for years now, but it was a bit of a transition from the 80 GSM. Midori. But I was really glad to move back into white paper. I think I'm going to be sticking to white paper from now on. If I'm going to switch to cream, it's going to be in like the fall when it really like goes with like the mood. But I didn't really feel like it went with my like early winter mood here in January and the colors that I wanted to use. So what's next? I have a couple more of these I can use. The fact that they're 96 pages is slightly unattractive, but I'm taking them apart anyway to recover them. So it's not a big deal to split them. So if I do that, I'll split it. But I think one part of the fun of inserts, I think, is that I'm going to maybe try not to do 2 in a row. I think I'm going to move away from the Wonderland 222 next, and I'm going to move into 68 GSM TRP and play with that for a little bit. That's going to have its own troubles. As you know, 68 GSM TRP has been a bit of a struggle here in 2025, but I do have some old stock, and I do have some new stock that we can talk about another time. So I think that's what I'm going to play with next, and I'm interested to see how that goes because that is going to incentivize different choices. I really like watercolor on that paper, and so that is going to, in these books, I never did any watercolor painting. I just mostly did splishy splashies. I did that here too, like this. And maybe it will only be splishy splashies in the 68 GSM, but I think that paper incentivizes that medium a little more. So I kind of think that's what's next, but really I'm just thoroughly enjoying switching. Just not being tied down, swapping it out when I feel like it, pasting as many photos. I didn't show you any of those because I didn't want to show you pictures of my little baby nephew, but there are a lot of them in here, and I didn't care. I printed them on full blown sticker paper, not sticker paper, but photo paper, which I was very anxious about doing in my like half year, or certainly would be in a full year, but in one of these inserts, it really didn't get that bulky, and like I knew I was moving on. And that's what I'm talking about different materials incentivizing different choices, and I really, really love that. So one of the hard things about all of this has been that B6 Slim is not a particularly common size, although it's gaining popularity with manufacturers. Stalogy is starting to release stuff in B6 Slim. Obviously Sterling Ink did, and it is like cut downable. So this B6, I just, cut a few millimeters off, like a full B6, and to make a B6 Slim, that was doable. You can also cut standard size in height, and that works too. But it is hard to get things to be all exactly the same size, both because if you're doing the actual cutting yourself, and also because B6 Slim is not as standard of size as you might think. So the like Midori stuff is a different height than the JIS stuff, which is like Sterling Ink uses. There's like a 1/4 inch difference, which is like fine, except that probably I don't want to switch to a taller height until I have a number of inserts at this height that are the thickness that I want to bind together, because I don't want to have different heights in my bound book. So I'm waiting. I have some Sterling Ink stuff waiting in the wings. These are the pages I cut out of my B6 Slim planner. And I have another notebook. So I've got options there, but I'm waiting until I've reached critical mass at this height before I switch. Probably I will then switch to this height permanently, because if I'm cutting things down from standard, it's just a little less that I have to cut off and waste, and I don't know. There's also a part of me that wonders if I'm going to switch to standard at some point. I don't like the size nearly as much. Sorry, I'm just fidgeting because I don't have anything to do with my hands. I wonder if I'll switch to standard at some point, because even though I don't like the size as much, it's much easier to get stuff in that size. But for the moment, I'm buying things in standard and cutting them down, and it's only about 1 inch, and I feel a little bad about it, but not terrible. So that's part of the hang up with being in B6 Slim this year, is that it's not a particularly standardized situation, and that has encountered some problems. If I was just keeping the inserts separately, honestly, it wouldn't matter, but because I have this dream of binding them into a book, I do kind of want to think about some of those details. So anyway, thanks for hanging out with me. That's the update, the Q1 update on my inserts. I'd be curious to hear in the comments if you've noticed this like kind of phenomenon about how the graphic design or the paper or the way things are made influences your behavior. I'd love to hear your examples of that in the comments. That would be something I'd find really fascinating to chat about. Anyway, have a great day. I hope your journaling and your planning is going well, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, friends.